Hello and welcome to the program. I am DEJI. Now, Nigeria is the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to confirm the first case of the coronavirus, also known as COVID-19. Here's the exact explanation provided by the Lagos State Commissioner of Health of how everything unfolded.
He spent the night in a hotel near the airport, and on Tuesday morning, he moved on to his business in Ogun State, where he's engaged by a corporate entity. He carried out business in Ogun State within the confines of that company on Tuesday and on early part of Wednesday. In that company, he spent the night in their accommodation, which is a confined environment, guest house. By the afternoon, he started to develop symptoms of high fever and body pains. He presented to the company medical facility where the investigation began. Because he gave a history of his origin from Italy, where we know there is a young outbreak happening, it was very astute of the medical practitioners in that facility to keep him overnight in an isolated environment. They contacted us at the biosecurity unit in Lagos for assistance. We immediately asked them to transfer the case to Lagos. He was brought to our high containment facility in Yaba on Thursday morning. Immediately he arrived, he was put into strict isolation and the appropriate tests were ordered. Within hours, we received the signal that the test in the laboratory was showing signs of positivity.
Now, the novel coronavirus has killed nearly 3,000 people worldwide, with the vast majority in mainland China, where it originated. It has since been spreading rapidly with infections in every continent except Antarctica. In the meantime, the Lagos State Ministry of Health, in collaboration with Nigeria's Center for Disease Control, says it will initiate all measures required to prevent the spread of an outbreak in the country. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we had a chat with one of Nigeria's top consultant virologists and professor at the University of Lagos Teaching Hospital, Sunday Mba, to find out from him how prepared the country is of any eventual outbreak of COVID-19. And this is what he told us back then.
The way we countered Ebola, so we are more wiser now. For instance, in Lagos here, we have a biosafety level 3 lab now, donated by the Canadian government to the Lagos state. So we have all our trained personnel, and I am the principal investigator of that facility. So in terms of diagnosis, I would say we are battle ready. So unlike the Ebola where we use the biosafety level 2, now we have biosafety level 3 that is actually required for respiratory-borne viruses, of which coronavirus is one. So in terms of diagnostics, so we are battle ready. It's only for us not to miss the case. And that's why we have to work with them at the airports to make sure that we don't mix case. So that's once we don't miss the case. If they have their suspicion, they should follow up. They should have form. They should give them their contact numbers and addresses so that they can follow them up. So that's the kind of thing we need to do as we did during Ebola.
Let's discuss this coronavirus situation further. I'm now being joined on the program from another part of Lagos by Dr. Matt Bomer, who is a public health physician. Doc, thank you very much. That's Dr. Matt Bomer, I should say. Thank you very much, Doc, for joining us on the program. First is this a time for us to panic?
Thank you, DEJI. As much as we have this thing with us now, this is not the time to panic. The best reaction is not to panic. Of course, we won't panic if we're acting from the point of honesty and information. We won't panic if government is engaging with people and is talking to them and telling them what to do, essentially. We won't panic if there's no misinformation or disinformation. We won't panic if we don't spread fear, because if we panic and we spread fear, there will be systemic paralysis, and that will hurt our fight against the coronavirus or this pandemic more than the virus itself. So we must act from the point of information. We must act from the point of strength and understanding. We must not allow narratives from social media and armchair so-called experts to start.
I'm very happy you brought up the issue of social media, because I think that is where we might have to struggle with. How do we deal with the challenge of misinformation from social media? Because as you clearly said, this is the period when you will see different so-called experts come on social media and spew all manner of misinformation.
The starting point is this. Let me tell every Nigerian, every Lagosian, every Nigerian listening that take information from credible sources. What are the credible sources in these cases? The government agent or agents responsible for disseminating that information. And I hope that government is going to streamline their information dissemination in such a way that we'll have one channel of being informed. Take either from Lagos State government or Nigeria Center for Disease Control or Federal Ministry of Health. Any other information coming from anywhere, describing some conspiracy theory, describing some funny drugs or things you can use or home remedy you can use, telling you anything, just discard it. If you cannot stand at that point, we remember when Ebola came and some people were talking about salt as a solution, we lost people. So we must be careful what we listen to and what we believe on social media. Let us stay focused on what the government is saying, on what Nigeria Center for Disease Control is saying, on what the federal government is saying, and let that be the information we should take seriously. And in addition, I'm sure that there are hotlines being provided by government to disseminate information, even for you to ask questions if you're not clear about anything. Let us take judicious use of this space to talk to government agency, to send email, to send text messages, so that we can have a single line of information.
Now, doctor, tell me, how important is it that we're able to diagnose for this virus here? Because, I mean, it's something very good that we're able to diagnose for the virus here in Nigeria. Yes,
when this thing started, though, for us, we were not happy that China delayed a bit in informing the world about the outbreak of this virus. I said that we need to seek help. We need to seek help because we are not competent enough to understand the sequencing of this genome, of the genome of this virus. We need to seek help by ensuring that we have that support, Center for Disease Control, Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and different agencies around the world, WHO and co, and seek help to be able to make diagnosis available. Good enough, before time, we're able to get those kits readily available. And instantly, because of the high suspicion, the index of suspicion from the hospital that the client first went to, we were able to get the specimen and test the person as close as possible and get results. So that is collaboration, because in public health, honesty, sincerity, truth is far, far more important than hope. No, you cannot build public health on that hope, but tell us exactly what is going on. When we know exactly what is going on, then we can then, arrange, we can then raise the competent, robust intervention that we can use to mitigate the outcome of the disease.
Now, contact tracing, of course, is not going to be easy at all in terms of this index case, because first you're looking at the flight that brought this individual into the country. You want to look at all those on board that flight. You want to look at the people he's made contact with, either at his office or where he went to work. As we've been told, he actually went to Ogun State and all of that. How difficult is it going to be, to contact, to trace all those this individual might have come in contact with?
I can't agree more with you that contact tracing in this environment will be quite a lot of challenge. Because one, you don't know people, so many people that he came with, they must have dispersed themselves again. You have to go and look at the manifest of the aircraft. You have to look at where he's gone to, who were at work, in those hostels or wherever he might have stayed, the kind of vehicle, the driver, and all those things. But again, it's not an excuse for us not to try to do contact tracing. I know it could be challenging, but we must as much as possible. But because, apart from that doing contact tracing, the information must be such that even those people who might have suspected that they came in contact with him will know exactly what to do. Either they self-report themselves or they self-quarantine themselves. Or they choose to move to a center where they can do tests. Now, let's appreciate the fact that Nigeria is such a big place, and the aircraft was coming from Turkey. You know that in that sense, some of the passengers might have been in Kano, some might have been in Port Harcourt. But again, when we disseminate this information appropriately, it then becomes easier for them to know where to go to and what to do. The key thing is for us to encourage them to submit themselves for screening at certain centers that may not be too far from them, or else we may not achieve that result we're looking for.
And very quickly now, how do you think, how bad do you think things can get before they get better? In the case of Nigeria.
Let's be clear. We don't know the full details of transmission of this virus. Even the World Health Organization does not know. The extent of manifestation, we don't know. But what we have seen from China is that as much as 90% of people get well, and just about 5% is what we are concerned about. And this is not the first time we're seeing coronavirus. Now, we've tried containment, but what we've seen is that the extent of containment we saw in China, despite the containment, the virus still broke out in other countries. So again, well, how much restriction can you do? How much travel restriction can you do? Are we going to follow the route of restriction? How well would that help us? But what it means is that we also know that there are what we call mystery transmission. It has happened in California, it has happened in Germany, where these people that presented with the disease didn't quite have contact with anybody from China. So that mystery transmission is there. We're trying to understand that. We also know that people can be asymptomatic and still transmit the disease. That is another thing we've known. Then we know that older people and people with chronic illness and immunosuppression will easily manifest the worst symptoms of the disease. So we know all these things. So now if you put that in respect to Nigeria and what we are, we know that, again, yes, we will not be too old, but again, you cannot say Nigeria is having the best kind of nutrition. You cannot say Nigeria is having the best kind of immunity. So, but for us, and we have a complex of disease, we've not understood the interaction of this disease with other local illnesses. So we have to really raise the high index of suspicion and follow on that patient. The challenge will be now that when these things move from, say, patient 0, who's an Italian, to a Nigerian, who probably may be the driver or the cook or something, then we'll then be able to understand the evolution of the disease better in our own setting. But now what we're seeing is Italian manifestation of the disease in a way. That is what we're seeing.
And it's also important, as you have said, that it has to be emphasized that because a lot of people think when you contract this virus, it's a death sentence. So people must be made aware that, people recover from this.
No. Capital no. You see, this coronavirus belongs to the RNA virus that also manifested as H5N1, which was 60% fatal. This one is just 2% fatal. For a long time, we may end up this virus becoming something like flu, cold flu, or influenza that we have to really look for vaccine against. It might stay with us for quite some time, but again, it's good. I believe that looking at the history of the virus and the family, is going to gradually attenuate, and we're going to get over it. It's not a death sentence, but having said that, it's so key, so important that for us, especially in this part of the world, where we have a broken health system, we have a really broken health system, where we don't have sufficient human resources for health, where, chronic illness, diseases, and low immunity, poor nutrition, is the norm, so to say, we need to do more. We need to talk more. Government need to coordinate that response essentially on what we should do. Should you suspect a case of coronavirus, or should you have a funny feeling?
Worst case scenario, this spirals out of control. How challenging would it be now for health practitioners like yourself to deal with?
Wow, we don't pray that this thing gets out of control. You know, the debate has been going on and off that this is a pandemic, it's not a pandemic. For me, I'm not going to bother myself about nomenclature. But we know, one study shows that 2/3 of people that actually left China we've not been able to trace them. You know, 2/3 of cases has not been manifesting for now. If it becomes a pandemic, then the response becomes, you know, because you see it's going to have effect on quite a lot of things in this nation. The way we live our life has to change. You know, even we have to get a stockpile of essential things because now getting to cinema, getting to school, getting to market, getting to park, attending religious worship will be challenged. So a lot of things will now change in how we live our life. So as it is, government should be at the forefront of defining to us when these changes are coming. When do we have to close school? Do we have to limit church program or mosque program? Do we have to, you know, redefine how we interact at the level of, you know, market and bus stations? So government need to actually help us be on top of this to define it. But it's quite challenging. If this thing spread out of control in Nigeria, it's going to be quite disruptive, both economically, mentally, socially, and physically.
Dr. T. Mba, thank you very much for joining us on the program and for your contributions.
Thank you.
Well, we'll take a short break now, and when we come back, Nigerian lawmakers want immunity for themselves. Find out why. We will be speaking with one of the lawmakers. On DEJI 360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country. I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly. God forbid that I go to join that band.
DEJI 360, providing clarity to issues.